Welcome back, everybody. Hope you all had a great Christmas. Hope you got to see your family and everything was wonderful. I personally did. It was great. My mom got me this coaster, and it has, I'd imagine plants, smells like cinnamon, maybe a little balsam inside of it. It's like a pouch. You put your hot coffee on it, and it produces a great smell. I love it. It works. All right, I want to start with something that Trump proclaimed yesterday, and I find this very interesting. Can't get a read on this guy. I literally have no clue. Still 50-50. I have so many signals, right? But check this out. This is pretty wild. Proclamation on the 850th anniversary of the martyrdom of St. Thomas Becket. So we're going to read this, and then we're going to read about Thomas Becket. After that, we're going to take a look at some local news. Hannaford's is in the news, the company that fired me because of my religious exemption for you know what? Yeah, they have an outbreak. What a shame. Okay. But let's go back to the proclamation. Now, I know some of you aren't Catholic, but I mean, just take it as a story. If you're not religious, take it as a fiction if you want. It still has a theme, right? It's got a motif. So today is the 850th anniversary of the martyrdom of St. Thomas Becket on December 29th, 1170. Thomas Becket was a statesman, a scholar, a chancellor, a priest, an archbishop, and a lion of religious liberty. Nice. So I've just started looking into this, but the date already puts us at the middle of the cathedral age. And the cathedral age was carried out after the Crusades began. And, you know, the Knights Templar went to Jerusalem or Solomon's Temple, and they dug in the ground for either 9 or 19 years and came back with the Holy Grail. That's the, exoteric story. But it marks the beginning of the cathedral age, this age of amazing stonemasonry. And the Knights Templar become the wealthiest and strongest global company, I guess you could call them. Global in that time. Global company for banking. They really kind of created the banking system, or at least that's what the history books tell us. They were supposed to guard pilgrims who were going from Europe to the Holy Land, and instead of carrying the money, the pilgrims could exchange their money with the Templars for a ticket, and then use that ticket once they got to the destination to exchange it back for their money with another Templar. That's how the story goes, but we can't trust any history books anymore. Let's continue. Before the Magna Carta was drafted, before the right to free exercise of religion was enshrined as America's first freedom in our glorious Constitution, Thomas gave his life so that, as he said, the Church will attain liberty and peace. The son of a London sheriff and once described as a low-born clerk by the king who had killed him, Thomas Becket rose to become the leader of the Church in England. When the Crown attempted to encroach upon the affairs of the House of God through the Constitutions of Clarendon, Thomas refused to sign the offending document. When the furious King Henry II threatened to hold him in contempt of royal authority and questioned why this poor and humble priest would dare defy him, Archbishop Becket responded, "God is the supreme ruler, above kings, and we ought to obey God rather than men." Because Thomas would not assent to rendering the Church subservient to the state, he was forced to forfeit all his property and flee his own country. Years later, after the intervention of the Pope, Becket was allowed to return and continued to resist the king's oppressive interferences into the life of the Church. Finally, the king had enough of Thomas Becket's stalwart defense of religious faith and reportedly exclaimed in consternation, "Will no one rid me of this meddlesome priest?" Here's where it gets interesting. The king's knights responded and rode to Canterbury Cathedral to deliver Thomas Becket an ultimatum: give in to the king's demands or die. Thomas's reply echoes around the world and across the ages. His last words on this earth were these: "For the name of Jesus and the protection of the Church, I am ready to embrace death." Dressed in holy robes, Thomas was cut down where he stood inside the walls of his own church. We're going to talk more about this. Each of the knights that killed him has a Wikipedia page, but it doesn't really give any associations to... It doesn't give any background at all. There's like one paragraph Wikipedia pages, but, the Knights of the King, I mean, the modern equivalent could be the Secret Service or, parts of the CIA or the FBI, these institutions that are completely corrupt from the inside out. And it was similar back then. It's, nothing new under the sun. So often the knights associated with the monarchy would be not the best people. And clearly this is an example of that. and we're going to talk about the actual murder and, some of the facts around that. But Thomas Becket's martyrdom changed the course of history. It eventually brought about numerous constitutional limitations on the power of the state over the church across the West. In England, Becket's murder led to the Magna Carta's declaration 45 years later. The English church shall be free, and shall have its rights undiminished and its liberties unimpaired. That's a quote from the Magna Carta. When the Archbishop refused to allow the king to interfere in the affairs of the church, Thomas Becket stood at the intersection of church and state. That stand, after centuries of state-sponsored religious oppression and religious wars throughout Europe, eventually led to the establishment of religious liberty in the New World. It is because of great men like Thomas Becket that the first American president, George Washington, could proclaim more than 600 years later that, in the United States, all possess alike liberty of conscience and immunities of citizenship, and that it is now no more that toleration is spoken of, as if it was by the indulgence of one class of people, that another enjoyed the exercise of their inherent natural rights. Thomas Becket's death serves as a powerful and timeless reminder to every American that our freedom from religious persecution is not a mere luxury or accident of history, but rather an essential element of our liberty. It is our priceless treasure and inheritance, and it was bought with the blood of martyrs. As Americans, we were first united by our belief that rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God, and that defending liberty is more important than life itself. If we are to continue to be the land of the free, no government official, no governor, no bureaucrat, no judge, and no legislator must be allowed to decree what is orthodox in matters of religion or to require religious believers to violate their consciences. Yeah, how's that sound, Hannaford corporate? Demons. Boom. No right is more fundamental to a peaceful, prosperous, and virtuous society than the right to follow one's religious convictions. Damn. As I declared in Krasinski Square in Warsaw, Poland on July 6, 2017, the people of America and the people of the world still cry out, "We want God." On this day, we celebrate and revere Thomas Becket's courageous stand for religious liberty, and we reaffirm our call to end religious persecution worldwide. In my historic address to the United Nations last year, I made clear that America stands with believers in every country who ask only for the freedom to live according to the faith that is within their own hearts. I also stated that global bureaucrats have absolutely no business attacking the sovereignty of nations that wish to protect innocent life, reflecting the belief held by the United States and many other countries that every child, born and unborn, is a sacred gift from God. Earlier this year, I signed an executive order to prioritize religious freedom as a core dimension of United States foreign policy. We have directed every ambassador and the over 13,000 United States Foreign Service officers and specialists in more than 195 countries to promote, defend, and support religious freedom as a central pillar of American diplomacy. We pray for religious believers everywhere who suffer persecution for their faith. We especially pray for their brave and inspiring shepherds, like Cardinal Joseph Zen of Hong Kong and Pastor Wang Yi of Chengdu, who are tireless witnesses to hope. To honor Thomas Becket's memory, the crimes against people of faith must stop. Prisoners of conscience must be released. Laws restricting freedom and religion and belief must be repealed, and the vulnerable, the defenseless, and the oppressed must be protected. The tyranny and murder that shocked the conscience of the Middle Ages must never be allowed to happen again. As long as America stands, we will always defend religious liberty. A society without religion cannot prosper. A nation without faith cannot endure, because justice, goodness, and peace cannot prevail without the grace of God. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President... that's weird how it's in all caps. We've done episodes about that before. Like your license is in all caps, your W-2s, your pay stubs. Okay. I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim December 29th, 2020, as the 850th anniversary of the martyrdom of St. Thomas Becket. I invite the people of the United States to observe the day in schools and churches and customary places of meeting with appropriate ceremonies in commemoration of the life and legacy of Thomas Becket. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 28th day of December in the year of our Lord, 2020, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 245th. Donald J. Trump. Nice. Interesting. Let's talk a little bit about Thomas Becket. I just listened to a little bit of Taylor Marshall, and he was saying that basically Henry II was encroaching on the Catholic Church, and he had three major demands, and one of those was to tap all the goods that, monasteries were producing. If you live in New England, maybe you've seen like the Trappist monks, right? And they sell jam, and I think they make mead and beer. And it's an example. They're a monastery, right? That still exists today in the New England area, and they make all sorts of stuff. So Henry II was trying to tax all that, I'm assuming. And then there were two other things. I think he wanted to he wanted the ability to influence the appointment of bishops and stuff, Henry II. Not only that, and the third thing was he wanted all these bishops, after he appoints them, to go to the royal court rather than the Catholic Church's court for any, problems and stuff. So yeah, he was really trying to take over the church. So St. Thomas Becket was not down with it. He was the Archbishop of Canterbury. So let's see what we got here. Let's read the assassination. It's pretty gruesome. Okay. In June 1170, Roger de Pont l'Evêque, the Archbishop of York, along with Gilbert Folio, the Bishop of London, and Josceline de Beaune, the Bishop of Salisbury, crowned the heir apparent Henry the Young King at York. This was a breach of Canterbury's privilege of coronation, and in November 1170, Becket excommunicated all three. So they're going to make Becket sound like the bad guy, of course, right? Wikipedia. They're like, they were just trying to have a simple crown ceremony, and Becket excommunicated everybody. I hate Wikipedia. Upon hearing reports of Becket's actions, Henry is said to have uttered words that were interpreted by his men as wishing Becket killed. The king's exact words are in doubt, and several versions have been reported. The most commonly quoted, as handed down by oral tradition, is, "Will no one rid me of this turbulent priest?" But according to historian Simon Schama, here we go, this is incorrect. He accepts the account of the contemporary biographer Edward Grimm, writing in Latin, who gives us, "What miserable drones and traitors have I nourished and brought up in my household, who let their lord be treated with such shameful contempt by a low-born cleric." That's very different. Many variations have found their way into popular culture. Whatever Henry said, it was interpreted as a royal command, and 4 knights, Reginald Fitzurse, Hugh de Morville, William Tracy, and Richard Brenton, set out to confront the Archbishop of Canterbury. William Tracy, that sounds like a familiar name. On December 29th, 1170, they arrived at Canterbury. According to accounts left by the monk Gervasi of Canterbury and eyewitness Edward Grimm, they placed their weapons under a tree outside the cathedral and hid their mail armor under cloaks before entering to challenge Becket. The knights informed Becket he was to go to Winchester to give an account of his actions, but Becket refused. It was not until Becket refused their demands to submit to the king's will that they retrieved their weapons and rushed back inside for the killing. Becket, meanwhile, proceeded to the main hall for vespers. The other monks tried to bolt themselves in for safety, but Becket said to them, "It is not right to make a fortress out of the house of prayer," ordering them to reopen the doors. What a savage. The 4 knights, wielding drawn swords, ran into the room saying, "Where is Thomas Becket, traitor to the king and country?" The knights found Becket in a spot near the door to the monastic cloister, the stairs into the crypt, and the stairs leading up to the choir of the cathedral, where the monks were chanting vespers. Upon seeing them, Becket said, "I am no traitor, and I am ready to die." See, that's so different than what Taylor Marshall said, the quote was. One knight grabbed him and tried to pull him outside, but Becket grabbed onto a pillar and bowed his head to make peace with God. Several contemporary accounts of what happened next exist. Of particular note is that of Grimm, who was wounded in the attack. This is part of his account. I'm just going to tell you what Dr. Taylor Marshall was playing on his channel this morning. He said they struck him once in the head and, cracked his cranium open, but didn't kill him right away. And then there was another knife or sword attack that sliced into his bishop hat and cut open his head. And he was going into some account how the blood mixed with the color of the hat and turned, purple. Some religious story. You should go check out Dr. Taylor Marshall. But after that, they Ugh, it's bad. They stomped on his head and spread his brains all across the floor. Like they completely just crushed his head, and yeah, awful. And then they made some remarks before they left about how they'll never have to deal with him anymore. So yeah, pretty tragic. He was a martyr, absolutely. So I don't even know what to make of President Trump proclaiming this, right? Can't trust any of these people. We can't put faith in any of these people. Only put faith in God. And I mean, it's just as easy to publish a bunch of BS that you don't believe in as it is to, publish it when you believe in it. So, I don't know. 50-50. I really hope things turn out good, but preparing for the worst. Okay, cool. And there's a movie called Becket you can watch. It's kind of an old movie. I think maybe 70s or 80s, but Marsha was saying it's really good. It's pretty accurate. Okay, let's get to the most important news in the world. Actually, check this out. Statue of slave kneeling before Lincoln is removed in Boston. How crazy is that? Check this out. It's by William J. Cole, The Associated Press. I think William's a 33, Pythagorean numerology. It came out today. Look at this. They removed this statue on your screen. It's ridiculous, dude. Okay, a statue of Abraham Lincoln was with a freed slave appearing to kneel at his feet. Optics that drew objections amid a national reckoning with racial injustice. It has been removed from its perch in downtown Boston. Maybe it's not open to interpretation. Maybe the creator of it has its maybe you should go check with the Historical Society about what the creator was doing here, right? So they're saying that the slave is freed and the slave is kneeling to Abraham Lincoln. That's not what I see. I see a slave that's kneeling to a Democrat, a Confederate, and I see Lincoln approaching him. And it doesn't look like the slave even notices Lincoln there, right? Lincoln's, what's that word? Hold on. Let me look it up. But yeah, this article is going to be awful, guys. Apotheosis, right? Apotheosis. So this is in the rotunda of the Capitol building. But it's this Masonic style painting of man becoming God, right? Transcending. And that's what this reminds me of. Of course, you got the Masonic pillar right here. And that kind of looks like George Washington on it. And I kind of get that vibe from it. So let's see what the lefties get from it, right? Let's see. Workers removed the Emancipation Memorial. It's literally called the Emancipation Memorial. Also known as the Emancipation Group and the Freedman's Memorial. Early Tuesday from a park just off Boston Common where it had stood since 1879. City officials had agreed in late June to take down the memorial after complaints and a bitter debate over the design. Mayor Marty Walsh, what a cuck, acknowledged at the time that the statue made residents and visitors alike uncomfortable. Unbelievable. I don't even know what to say, you guys. I'm dumbfounded. I think all these stories are made up. There was no debate. They didn't get together in a room and talk about this. I don't even believe that anymore. They just do these things in these Mockingbird media, CIA-run media stations with the all CNI and the number 13. They just type up crap. You know what I mean? There's probably 1,000 people in some building somewhere typing these stories all in the same building and just pumping them out. This is so evil. Okay. The bronze statue is a copy of a monument that was erected in Washington, D.C. 3 years earlier. The copy was installed in Boston because the city was home to the statue's white creator, Thomas Ball. Unbelievable, dude. Why do you have to say the creator's white? This is such obvious propaganda. It's disgusting. It was created to celebrate the freeing of slaves in America and was based on Archer Alexander, a black man who escaped slavery. Wow. So maybe this could be interpreted as him breaking his chains about to escape. Maybe that's why the chains are still on his wrist and they're broken and he's looking up in kind of like an excited, manner, like his adrenaline's going. We got to read what Thomas Ball intended, because they say right here that Thomas Ball intended to celebrate the freeing of slaves in America. And it was based on Archer Alexander, a black man who escaped slavery, helped the Union Army, and was the last man recaptured under the Fugitive Slave Act. So this is a story honoring an American patriot. Not white, not black. It's honoring a free man and a patriot and a soldier. And it's honoring a president. How do people fall for this? But while some saw the shirtless man rising to his feet while shaking off the broken shackles on his wrist, others perceived him as kneeling before Lincoln, his white emancipator. Yeah, we need to look up what the actual artist intended it to be, because can't trust this. Freed black donors paid for the original in Washington. White politician and circus showman Moses Kimball financed a copy in Boston. This is propaganda, right? So the black donors paid for the original in Washington. Normal. Listen to this part. White politician, right? Pointing out race for no reason. They didn't have to say black donors either. And weird. Freed black donor. Why is black capitalized right there, but white's not? And circus showman. So there you go. I mean, what do you think of when you think of 1800 circus showman? This guy that tortures animals and tortures freaks, right? The freak show. That's what American Horror Story, that's the image painted in the average American's mind of a circus, of course, evil. So that evil circus showman, Moses Kimball, and then boom, what a perfect example to use, Moses, right? To get that Christian association in there too. Financed a copy in Boston. The inscription on both reads, "A race set free and the country at peace, Lincoln rests from his labors." Wait, that's what happened. More than 1,200 people had signed a petition demanding the statue's removal. You know what? When the lefties walk up to you on the street with clipboards, just walk right by them. Walk right by them. Because you know what the Democrats do? These people are all over the city of Portland. They seem like they don't have jobs or they're getting paid enough to just walk around all day with clipboards and lie to people and ask if they want to sign something about voter rights when they're signing BS stuff like this. It's the most deceptive and disgusting form of politics. They just come up to you. They know you're busy walking down the street. They know you have somewhere to go. It's cold out. They ask you for a signature for black rights or for voter rights or for ending racism. You don't even know what you signed. They're all over the place. Disgusting. And that's it? 12,000 signatures was all it took in the city of Boston? We were at a meeting I went to the other day. I think it takes 67,000 signatures in the state of Maine to have legislation put through the legislature for the actual people to bypass the legislature and pass a law. How crazy is that? Over 60,000 votes are required for us to make our own law bypassing the legislature. But in Boston, under a supposedly Republican mayor, I think, Marty Walsh, 12,000 signatures is all they need to remove a sacred icon of American history. We're at war. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. The memorial had been on Boston's radar at least since 2018. It's funny I say we're at war and then the next sentence has a subtle subliminal reference to war on the radar. When it launched a comprehensive review of whether public sculptures, monuments, and other artworks reflected the city's diversity and didn't offend communities of color. The Arts Commission said it was paying extra attention to the works with problematic histories. Ugh. Last summer, protesters vowed to tear down the original statue in Washington, prompting the National Guard to deploy a detachment to guard it. Shame on you, people of Boston. Shame on you. This far into the game, you're going to let that happen? All right, I understand the beginning, like right after Floyd. So, yeah, I understand some communities being shocked and not knowing what to do. But Boston, are you kidding me? In that city, nobody came out to defend this. Nobody. Doesn't surprise me because they don't have open carry. I don't believe. They have very strict gun laws. This is disgusting. This is definitely war. 100%. All right, let's see. You know what? I reported Hannaford's for non-compliance. I tried to warn them. I let them know. I let the officials know that the one I was at was non-compliant, and It's just a shame. Let's get into this story here. Maine CDC investigating coronavirus outbreak at Hannaford Distribution Center. That reminds me of Todd Bell. Investigating. I wonder if I think I still have that. It's a great video. It's the best video. Oh, I think this is it.
Diana or myself.
Nope, that's not it. Hold on. It's buried in my computer somewhere, but it's Pastor Todd Bell from Calvary Baptist Church in Sanford. Just being the man. Yeah, dude, they took down True Media Portland. Sons of guns. All right, let's watch Hannaford's.
Share the love.
This is going to be bad. We'll read a little bit of the article after, and then we'll get to another article about Maine. Important stuff that we all need to hear. Okay, almost there.
The CDC is investigating an outbreak at a Hannaford distribution center. The facility in Winthrop now has 21 cases of the virus. The Maine CDC says the cases are likely from community transmission. The distribution center is one of 9 that distributes to Hannaford location.
This is perfect timing because I'm pretty sure a European study just came out totally debunking something. And this article seems to be covering the same thing.
The CDC is investigating an outbreak at a Hannaford distribution center. The facility in Winthrop now has 21 cases of the virus. The Maine CDC says the cases are likely from community transmission. The distribution center is...
Stupid. Let's read. Winthrop. The Maine CDC is investigating a CV outbreak at the Hannaford Distribution Center. The facility in Winthrop now has 21 cases. The Maine CDC says the cases are likely from community transmission. Sorry, my phone. The distribution center is one of 9 that distributes to Hannaford locations in Maine. Yep. I don't think it's a coincidence they're being propped up right now for this, and they're owned by one of the largest food distribution companies on the globe that is headed by ex-bankers, like global bankers, IMF people. Yeah. Delhaize Group. We did an episode on it after they fired me for my religious views. Then we have one here from AARP, the C-19 vaccine distribution plan in Maine. Speaking of grocery stores, guess who's next in line after frontline foxhole workers? Let's read. Maine began administering the VAXs on December 15th. For the final week of 2020, the state is slated to receive 19,125 doses of the Pfizer and Moderna's, bringing its total allocation to date to 64,775 doses, according to the State Department of Health and Human Services. The FDA has granted both VAXs emergency use authorization. The process is designed to fast-track medicines to treat or prevent life-threatening diseases. We know. The first ones were for frontline workers, and then workers deemed essential, and people over the age of 75 and older are in the next priority group, followed by the 65 to 74 range. And those age 16 to 64 with underlying health conditions that put them at risk for serious complications, blah, blah, blah. News is changing quickly. It does say something here about grocery stores. There we go. Phase 1B includes people age 75 and older. It also includes other frontline essential workers, such as police and corrections officers, firefighters, teachers, and daycare staff, postal and public transit employees, and grocery store staff. How about that? That's coming way quicker than I thought it would. So they just fired me for having a religious exemption to mask wearing. Think of what's going to happen. This is like 2 weeks out, guys. 2 weeks out. Hannaford's is going to force their employees to take it. You understand, right? This is here. This is it. They're all going to take it. Wow. That's crazy. Grocery store, you're next. Whew. Glad I got out of there. That's rough. Oh, man. All right, let me see if I can leave you with Pastor Bell. I know I have this video somewhere. Just probably going to take a little while to find. I better have it somewhere. Pastor Bell's a man. I do have a lot of these Hannaford's videos in front of me, though. See, look at I let him know.
And we'll contact you with further steps. So I'm
You gotta watch your
suspended
screen.
for what reason?
For not following company policy of wearing your mask properly.
You'll get a
I
laugh
took pictures
if you
of
watch your
everybody
screen.
else breaking the rules too.
Based off the incident that occurred last night, you are suspended from working starting immediately. You are not to come back to work until you hear back from Diana or myself.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing back from you guys. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
CDC, how can we direct your call?
I'd like to just report a pretty bad non-compliance situation in my town.
Okay, is it a business?
It is.
Okay. The Department of Economic and Community Development take the complaints because they oversee how the mandates apply to the businesses. And that phone number is 624
Yep. Okay.
98
Yep.
18.
18 and 207, I assume. Yes.
Correct. 624 9818. Correct.
Okay. Thank you so much. This is
You're
a bad
more than
one.
welcome.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, I took care of that. I reported Hannaford's for non-compliance like a month ago. Guess they didn't listen. They didn't smarten up. It's too bad. Anyway, if you work at Hannaford's, comment below. Are you going to take the vaccine? Because they're going to force it on you very soon. It's crazy. All right, I'll see you guys later. Have a good day.